All right, math friends, so here we are back at it, Pre-Calculus 12.3 Day 2 Notes Part 2. So I was in the middle of Method 2 using the definition of a derivative to find the slope of the tangent line for y equals x plus x squared. So I had just taken that numerator and brought it over to the side and done a little bit of work, just basically the foiling and the distributive properties. So now I have this. So I'm just going to bring that back up here to the line. So this is going to be the limit as h approaches 0 of a squared plus 2ah plus h squared plus a plus h minus a squared, and that's all over h. So now the next step would be to start canceling some things out. Well, hopefully you see that there are quite a few things that we get to cross out. Let's see here. Negative a squared and positive a squared, gone. Positive a and negative a, gone. So then what we have left is the limit as h approaches 0 of 2ah plus h squared plus h all over h. And as far as the order that you write those three terms in the numerator, I don't think it really matters. The next step is going to be to factor the h out of the numerator, just like we did in that first example today. So that's going to be the limit as h approaches 0 of h times 2a plus h plus 1 over h. And so now we can show that those h's are going to cross out. So then we're left with the limit as h approaches 0 of 2a plus h plus 1. Well, when h is 0, this becomes 2a plus 1. And now the last step would be at the point, what was our point again? Our point was 1, 2, which remember, our a value is 1, right? So this becomes 2 times 1 plus 1, which is 2 plus 1 is 3, okay? So we got the same answer here that we got in the previous example, but I think you would agree that the way that we did it the second time, method 2, was a little bit more work using that definition of a tangent line, or definition of a derivative, excuse me. But sometimes we don't have a choice, because if we don't know the point and all we know is the function, then we have to do it this way and leave it in terms of a and finish that way. So let's look here at the follow-up to this problem. So now we want to find the equation of the tangent line. We just did all the work for this because it's the same function. It's y equals x plus x squared at the point 1, 2. Well, we already know from our previous work that the slope of that tangent line is 3. And we know that the point that our line's going to be passing through is the point 1, 2. So now we just have to do a point slope equation. You got the point, you got the slope, you do the point slope form. I had to throw that in there for you seniors. You got to hear that at least one more time before you graduate, right? Okay, so we're going to be plugging in those three things. So we're going to have y minus 2 equals 3 times x minus 1. Distribute the 3 and add the 2. So the equation of the tangent line to the curve y equals x plus x squared at the point 1, 2 is going to be the equation y equals 3x minus 1. And we are done. All right. The last example that we're going to look at today, example 4, is asking us to find f prime of a, where a is in the domain of f of x. F of x is the function x squared minus 6x. So notice we do not have a point here, right? We don't know what a is. We don't know, therefore, what f of a is, because if we don't have an a, we can't plug it in to find f of a. So in this case, we really don't have a choice. We have to use the definition of a derivative. The f prime of a is equal to the limit as h approaches 0 of f of a plus h minus f of a over h, okay? So we're going to do the f prime of a is equal to the limit as h approaches 0 of f of a plus h. So again, we have to plug a plus h into our function for x there, where I just put those little parentheses in our f of x. So it's going to be a plus h quantity squared minus 6 times a plus h, and then we have to subtract f of a. So that's just going to be a squared minus 6 times a. And this is all over h. Okay, we've done this a few times now, so hopefully you realize that that a plus h quantity squared, we are going to have to FOIL that. So our next step, we're going to get the limit as h approaches 0 of a plus h quantity squared is a squared plus 2ah plus h squared. And then when we distribute that negative 6, we get negative 6a minus 6h. And then when we distribute the negative through the bracket, we get negative a squared and positive 6a. And this is all over h. Okay, so now we look for things that we can cross out that are the same. We can cross out the a squared and the negative a squared. We can cross out the negative 6a and the positive 6a. So then we are left with the limit as h approaches 0 of 2ah plus h squared minus 6h all over h. And then again, our next step is going to be to factor that h out of the numerator, just like we have done, I think, 3 times already today. So when we factor out the h, we get 2a plus h minus 6 over h. And now we can cross those h's out, right? So then our f prime of a is going to be equal to, as h approaches 0, 2a minus 6. Because when we plug in 0 for h, that plus h just disappears. So that is our derivative. That's f prime of a.